Hello, insiders, and welcome to another edition of Connecting Through Science. Today's edition is mindfulness and technology, and I'm very excited about this episode. We have a great, knowledgeable guest on all things mindfulness, meditation, and apps to help you with them. Catie Macken is here with me today. Hi, Catie.
Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure because a lot of times InsideTracker will recommend mindfulness for our users looking to improve many aspects of their health, from mental to physical. Mindfulness, meditation are part of that, and science tells us that. And you are an exemplary person to help us navigate mindfulness, meditation, and technology, because you are the Chief Mindfulness Officer of Prezence, a mindfulness app, but you're also a very learned yogi and meditation instructor. Could you just give us a little background about your relationship to mindfulness?
Absolutely. Thank you for all of those very kind words about me to open this. Yes, as you said, I am a yoga and meditation teacher. I've been teaching for about 8 years now, 8.5 already. And I grew up in the Midwest and in a very small town where mindfulness was never spoke about. And I dealt with very high anxiety and panic attacks in my early 20s. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga were the practices that really started to support a healthier lifestyle. And anxiety was something that I just thought you lived with. It was just that this is how life is.
Right.
And then I realized there's other paths. And so that's a very short story. I moved to Boston about just about 7 years ago now. And 2 years ago, I started working with Prezence, which is a digital mindfulness and digital wellness app that we'll be speaking about today.
Right. No, that's people in the group comments this week. We were talking about different apps and different tools to help with this process or this activity of mindfulness. So I want to start to be clear, because mindfulness and meditation have a little bit of an aura around them as maybe being something more than they are. And so let's kind of set the tone of this conversation of mindfulness. What is mindfulness as a practice, as a thing? What is mindfulness?
Great question. And I think mindfulness is so hot right now. And
It is.
And it has been for a while. And because of that, it, as you said, it has quite an aura around it, and is quite often frequently misunderstood. And we'll get into more questions around this, but meditation, mindfulness, all sort of used interchangeably. But meditation, at the most basic level, is awareness and the ability to pay attention to the present moment without judgment and without getting swept up into any one thought or emotion or sensation. And it's, there's many other really beautiful definitions of it, but that is one of my favorite because it's really simplistic. It's really just paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Awareness. I like that word, awareness. And InsideTracker is about awareness, in that you can make a fix to your diet because your blood biomarker's off, and knowing that your cortisol levels are high or knowing your iron is low is an awareness, and that gives you the power to change something. Is mindfulness kind of the same thing in that? How does it make you more aware? You're just sitting there, or you're just being mindful. Let's dig into that a little bit more. Of being aware, is it a way of life, or is it a practice, or is it both?
Both. Yes and yes. And great question. And what I love about what you said about InsideTracker is that I speak very often about everything in life is information. And it's what you decide to do with that information that counts. So when you're using InsideTracker, you get all of this information and you're paying attention to the biomarkers that you have. Now, with that, looking at it clearly and simplistically, what do you do? How do you then move forward from that? What choices do you make? And so meditation, rather, mindfulness is a lifestyle, but it's also a set of disciplined practices
Right.
to help you achieve that state of presence, as we like to call it.
Right. And so, you know, nowadays, like, we're talking about technology and mindfulness. Mindfulness is old, right? This is old technology. This is
Yeah.
old
Yes.
tech. Ballpark. I mean, how long have humans been working on this
Oh my God.
problem of paying? You know, it's like the hardest problem going in humanity is how do we pay attention to the present moment? And
Yeah,
it's been with us a while, hasn't it?
it has thousands of years.
Yeah.
And it goes back in many different lineages, and you know, Buddhism, Hinduism, even some of the religious practices, right? There's a lot of the same ideas, and then how that information is presented is a little bit different. But
Right.
I think forever we've been trying to, as we've evolved, learn how to pay attention to what is without attaching to what was or what will be.
Right. Right. And it doesn't happen naturally, I don't think. I think,
No.
you know, anyone who has had experience with mindfulness practice will probably attest to that. It's a lot noisier than they thought inside their
It
head.
is.
And help us understand, when we were preparing for this show, meditation is an application of mindfulness. A lot of times the words get intermingled, and there are different kinds of meditation. So let's
Yes.
take a step back and say, generally, like, what is meditation in relation to mindfulness, and what would be a specific example of a meditative practice?
Great. And you said they're often interchangeable, but typically when you're speaking about meditation, or when most people are referencing meditation, it is a seated, focused attention practice. So whether that is, and you also said this wonderfully, that there's many different uh, applications of that. So that could be something like focused attention meditation, which is a Buddhist technology in which you continually bring the mind back to one stimulus. So, whether that is the breath, or I've taught a meditation at a retreat last year for Prezence in Tulum, where we used a candle and you constantly brought your mind back to the witnessing the flame. Um, so very often it's that idea that you're seated, or even in movement, you could do movement meditation, but that your focused attention is on one stimulus. Mindfulness meditation is a little bit different. But the goal is really to get to a place where meditation is sort of a lifestyle, and similar
Yeah.
to the idea of mindfulness, that you have this focused attention through the discipline and the repetition of the practice within everything. And that's, I think, why mindfulness and meditation often get interchangeable, because there's a meditative state that's talked about, and that's the ability to sort of be in that flow state, or you know, I'm sure you guys have a lot of athletes that use the information that you provide in InsideTracker. So, you know, Tom Brady, I like to use him because he's obviously New England and is a really good example of this. But when he's playing football, like, he is in that meditative state, and it's from the repetition that he's done this over and over and over again. And like everything in life, with making any changes that you would in InsideTracker or in your lifestyle, it takes discipline, and for
Yeah.
you to do that over and over again until it becomes effortless. So it's sort of like meditation is the effort that you put forth to get to that effortlessness, the mindful, the meditative state.
Yeah. And my impressions are it's not easy. And maybe you can, you know, I remember having to make that a goal, just like, you know, I was taking a vitamin D supplement. You know, every day take your vitamin D supplement and you'll get where you want. I did a very similar thing with meditation. I was going to meditate 15 minutes a day, nothing too formal, nothing too crazy, you know, put it on the calendar, and then I didn't follow through. Like it was amazing how many things prevented me from just sitting still for 15 minutes, and days would go by and I would miss it. And so I really appreciate what you're saying about the discipline and the practice, and maybe to help us understand why is it so difficult? What are the challenges that everybody brushes it off as like that's easy, but what is difficult about it?
I think part of it is that a meditative practice is incredibly confronting. You're confronted with your yourself, and we'll talk a little bit about this, but one of the reasons why you want to meditate is to help support cortisol levels and in situations of chronic stress. But when your nervous system is in that state of chronic stress for extended periods of time, that becomes the pattern of normal.
Yeah, 2020.
And I like to look at, yes. And so when you sit and, if I've had a really long day at work. I'm stressed. I have this email that stressed me out. Something with my partner stressed me out. Or, I don't have children, but you have kids that there's all of these stressors or stimulus, because we want to also not necessarily look at it from quote unquote a negative light, but it's stimulus.
Right.
And then I go to sit in meditation, and all of that in the physical body is going to come through. All of that in the mental body is going to come through. And it's a lot easier for me to take my phone, open up Instagram, and scroll for 15 minutes rather than sit and confront some of those uncomfortable feelings. And, meditation and mindfulness, both of these practices and tech are really practical techniques to normalize discomfort. And to better than be able to, I think about the meditation and yoga as like, this is like practice for life, because there's always going to be challenges and things that are uncomfortable and moments where, you don't really want to have to deal with this, but it is a part of life. And to be able to sit and normalize it through a breath technique, or through focused attention, constantly bringing my awareness back to one stimulus, or through compassion and love and kindness, which is another form of meditation, where you're exuding compassion towards those outside of you, better prepares me for the moments of discomfort that will absolutely come up in my everyday life. And we're really this is a big part of what we're all going through as a collective right now, through the experiences of COVID, through the experiences of Black Lives Matter. We're kind of being forced to sit in it a little bit.
Right.
And that can bring up a lot for people emotionally, physically, mentally.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's important to say, like all practices, whether you want to start running or lifting weights, you got to have a little bit of forgiveness, right? With yourself, and that you're not going to be an all-star the minute you sit down to do this. The focus of our talk today is to incorporate the technology. We've got this really old meditation techniques and you spoke of a few, love and kindness practice, returning to the breath practice. Now let's introduce technology, and technology. I think a lot of us felt maybe, 10 years ago, it kept pulling us away from reality. The technology was what was keeping you from being focused. And you were like, oh my goodness, I need to turn the computer off to come back to now. But now we're starting to hack that. Now it's almost like you can see the problem and you can use technology to save you in a way, to interject and bring you back to the present moment. And that's the world of mindfulness tools. Can you please help our audience understand what kind of tools are available, and specifically how Prezence is able to activate those?
Yes. I love that you keep using the word technology. I study style of yoga and meditation called Kundalini, and we speak to the meditations themselves as technology, and it shows you like this device that we have and the one that we're watching or that we're using to record this. These are all evolutions of technologies. But this is like a super evolution. It works so quickly. And so how do we use our phones, our emails, when we are more connected than ever, especially through this experience of COVID? And the practices of mindfulness can help to support a healthy relationship with everything around you, with the moment, with yourself, with your devices. And at Prezence specifically, we're really one of our goals is to make technology a source of strength rather than a stressor. And with Prezence, we have sort of a formula that we use with all of our applications. So we have the phone app, which is on iOS. It was released almost 1 year ago, August 2nd, 2019. And we will be, thank you, lovely segue in. We will be introducing the Android app on the 1 year anniversary next month. So really excited about that. That's been in the works for a while, but we encourage users to pause, to reflect, and to unplug. So you start and end your day with a mindful moment. We call that the pause moment. And, just speaking going back to the mindfulness practice, there is that moment between stimulus and response where you make the choice and how you'd use that information of the stimulus. And this goes to a neurological level, but we're using this on a bigger level as well, but where you have that opportunity to choose. And so what do most people do in the morning? Pick up your phone and you open and you start scrolling, or you check your emails, and immediately you're pulled into that sympathetic nervous system. Your fight or flight response is triggered. You're like, oh, I have to go respond to all these emails, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning.
The red lights, got to get the red lights out. And
notification.
A tiger jumping out of the woods would make my body do something. And you know what? 2020, that's kind of what's causing the same response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's those prolonged states that really start to decrease immune function, increase cortisol levels. And this is what your technology at InsideTracker is so helpful to notice. Okay, here's where I'm at. Here's the tools that I can use, the practical application.
Right.
So we start and end your day with that mindful moment, and it's 2 minutes. And, we have 2 minutes, whether we want to admit it or not. And it could be something as simple as notice what was the quality of your sleep last night? How do you feel this morning? Do you feel rested? Journal about that, or reflect and journal on that in your Prezence journal. So you start with that 2-minute pause as a way to really anchor yourself in mindfulness at the start of your day. But everything goes in cycle, right? So you want to come back to that same state of presence at the end of your day as well. So that's our pause moment. And then we have the unplug position, which is either meditation. And we're also going to be implementing some new technology within the app in the next few weeks called the unplug timer, which is essentially, on weekends, we encourage people to take time away from their devices.
Wait, so unplug position is like a meditation position where you're unplugged from technology?
Essentially, yes. And my brain went to like the position that it is in our app, but yes, it's essentially a space within the app where you have the opportunity to either meditate through guided meditation that we have. We have a number of incredible guides, and we'll be adding more within the next few months. Or you can do your own self-guided meditation, breath work, all the techniques that we've been speaking about in seated meditation, or you can unplug from your technology. You can unplug from your streaming. If it's that "are you still watching" moment or you're like, okay, I need to step away from the Netflix for a while, and you can set a timer on your phone. It'll run in the background and it'll alert you. Say you want to unplug for 12 hours. You want to turn off your social media for 24, and that will run and alert you when that time is up. And then we encourage you to reflect. So journaling is an incredible mindfulness practice that really allows you to, witness and identify emotions, and then identify, obstacles to shifting that emotional experience without getting too attached to any one sensation. And so we have integrated into the app a journal. And then you can reflect day to day. You can go back and there's a calendar, so you can like look at what specifically you wrote last year to notice how that has shifted or changed. And then we also offer live meditations 4 times a week, 30 minutes, guided by our meditation guide. So that is a portion of the app as well.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, so, it's connecting as well as kind of tuning out to other people in the practice. And I really like how, it's about knowing what's going on and then having a strategy going forward to improve upon where you're at, meeting you where you are. So somebody who's just starting, or, today they watched us and they're like, I should do meditation. InsideTracker recommended it for my cortisol levels. And I'm going to do it. What does that look like for a good starting practice over a week, and how much a day, and what does that look like so that it's not intimidating?
That's a great question, and one I get very often. And what I like to say is, first of all, start simple. Ask less of your practice than more, because we expect, as we said earlier, we expect a lot out of like one seated meditation, or we change our diet for one day and we expect a lot from that. But this takes time. Your body is physical. It's tangible. It takes time to change that. And the mind is incredibly powerful, but those patterns have been running for, I'm 36. So 36 years for me, however old you are, a lot of times you've been running those same neurological patterns for a long time. So to rewire those, it's going to take some time. So start simple. If that's 1 minute the first day where you sit and you breathe and you're consciously aware of your breath, great. And then maybe tomorrow it's 2 minutes. Don't bite off more than you can chew, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. And then it's really easy not to return to that practice, because there's a perception around it didn't work. We create a lot of stories, a lot of narratives that we
on our own practice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's uncomfortable, right? And so it's learning how to normalize that. So start small, and know that there's also not one way up the mountain. And you have to really understand what works for you. And that takes like some time. And it's like dating, you've got to like take yourself on some mindfulness dates and figure out what works and what fits into your lifestyle. Because again, if you sit down and meditate at 7 a.m. for 5 minutes, and then you do that again at noon or at 7 p.m., every person is going to have a different reaction to that experience. And so 7 a.m. might work for you, but that doesn't work for me. So I need to understand how that can support and sort of be integrated into the life that I already live, because we're householders. We have lives to live. We're not monks sitting up in a cave able to meditate for 8 hours a day or longer.
We are not. I think that's really going to help a lot of people get started, so they're not intimidated that you're going to be cloistered in a robe because you're engaging in mindfulness practice. I want to. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find the Prezence app?
Yes. So we are, as I said, in the iOS store, Prezen as in Zen, CE, or helloprezence.com, or Prezence app on Instagram.
Great.
So those 3 areas are easy ways to find us. And you said it, grace, forgiveness, and if you get off track, start again.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with your biomarkers. 2020 happens. Yeah. This spring happens.
Yeah.
And there's the controllables, and being aware, being mindful is something that I feel we should always be able to come back to.
Absolutely.
And you said that very well about something that. And Catie, thank you for the chat today. And I hope everybody checks out Prezence. I've been using it myself to be confronted with what I want to do in my goals with doing this each day. I hope our viewers do too. Thank you, Catie. It was a pleasure talking with you today.
Thanks, Jason. Have a great day.